Hi, welcome to Unprecedented Journey. I'm Jeff Oppenheim, and I thank you for joining me today. Well, I started this broadcast, as you know, back in March when we were just at the beginning stages of COVID, and even back then when I was saying 40 giorni, 40 days, the origin of quarantine. Even that seemed like a long time off. Well, here we are, almost the end of the year. We haven't gotten rid of the quarantine per se, and certainly not COVID, although some hope may be in sight, but still a long journey to go. And of course, let's not even talk about the stress and the strain of the potential illness. I mean, every sniffle, every ache, every pain any of us have had, we probably immediately gone, uh-oh. But it also has its implications on our family life, our social life, every form of economic life and our job. We've all had to adapt. And of course, I've tried to bring forth resourcefulness, some ideas, some things you can do, and introduce you to some experts. And one of the other things I want to share with you today is, in fact, the thing that I've found so important, especially now, especially while we're still having some more or less nice weather, at least in the north, is to go on day trips. And in fact, as often as you can, to be able to work remotely. And I don't mean just go into the next room. No, not at the next room of the next house, not even in your garden if you're lucky enough to have one. I mean, pick up and walk to a park, or get in the car if you have to and drive to some different location and work there, outdoors, just to, again, psychologically alleviate some of the sensibility that is so associated with COVID. But things have even gotten more heated, especially the election and the election turmoil has added and compressed not only the issues of the election and COVID itself, but also just on levels of divisiveness and social change. And let's face it, change and growth also often has a lot of growing pains. Just recently, a friend of mine and I decided we had been working very hard and we needed to get away. We were going to take a day trip. And this particular day was a Saturday, the Saturday after the election in this country. And we just said we need to escape. And we made plans very loosely. We didn't even quite know whether we were going to drive out to Long Island and go to the shore and just spend a day by the beach, because that's what's so great about New York. You're an hour from any beach, either on the Sound side, the Bay side, or on the ocean side. Or drive about an hour north and go into mountain country, upstate New York. But we said, let's get together, let's rescue my mom too from her being isolated as much as she's been isolated, because this has been hard on that generation, very much so. So what did I do? In preparation, I got up that morning, I ran down to the supermarket and purchased all the things for a fixing for a fine picnic. What I decided to do here was make a picnic for my friend and my mother, and did a little recipe, some of which we see here. Did the hummus and some carrots and celery stalks, very healthy. I did a cheese platter with some nice breads and some nice crackers. These are dolmades, stuffed grape leaves, some olives, always great as appetizer. I cheated a little. I got a rotisserie chicken, which you don't see here, of course, and I cut it up into little pieces. And then, of course, I made a couscous salad, a tabbouleh salad, which is couscous with some tomatoes and things of that nature. Packed it up with fresh linen, believe it or not, real utensils, because you know me, sustainability all the way, and even glasses, of course a nice wine, a little seltzer water, so we had both to drink, and even to top it off for dessert, a medley of fresh berries. Yes, I did say medley. And of course some cookies, because I know my mom loves cookies. And I put it all in a picnic basket. I mean, I had it, I'll admit it. It sits in the closet most of the time, but I have a picnic basket. And I said, well, you know what? Let's put all that in there. And even before I left, I know my friend was coming to meet me. She does not take care of herself. She takes care of the world, but she doesn't bother to take care of herself, especially stop and have breakfast. So quickly, again, like a short order cook in the kitchen, I cooked up an egg, cheese, and bacon sandwich for her, wrapped it up, figured she could eat it in the car on the way. So at that moment, I said, let's drive upstate to a very particular place I know and love. I know it from my childhood. It's called Caterskill Falls. And it's a place I used to go quite often when I was young, and therefore my mom was very happy to go back there and visit. It's where we used to go and occasionally stay in a house there in a town called Palinville. And we got in the car. It's 2 hours, a little over 2 hours away, but it was worth it, we decided. Even though daylight savings time was working against us, we decided, let's go on up and let's push forward. Just about now, my friend's phone rang, and it was her mom calling from their home country, Chile. My friend is originally from Chile. And just to be clear, by Chile, I don't mean the competitor to Taco Bell. I mean South America. It's a beautiful coastal strip of land, incredible biodiversity. Chile. We might say Chile. Okay. So her mom calls, and loud enough, but in her native tongue, we all hear it in the car, she says, "Felicidades. Tienes un nuevo presidente." Very excited. Wait, did I get that right? Yes. Subtitles. Read them. That said, we were all like, wait, no. And my friend even said, no, Mom, not yet. They're still tabulating. We're going through this ridiculous process right now. It's going on much longer. She said, no. They just announced it on a news channel here in Chile. So I start scrolling. My mom starts scrolling. We don't see anything on the American news on our phones. Suddenly, while I'm scrolling, my phone lights up. And it's my friend, Sangeeta Chavan. If you must know, she's my old high school sweetheart. And I just get, yay! Exclamation, exclamation, exclamation. Well, I knew right away that she was in Chicago rooting for Biden-Harris. And of course, right after that, she sends a BBC link announcing the results. And at this point, my mom chimes in and says, yes, actually, I'm starting to see it populate on the news sites here as well. We had a proclaimed winner, Biden-Harris. This was such a moment of just taking a breath, as I said, which was the purpose of this trip to begin with, to escape it all, to escape even the turmoil of this election process, which during my lifetime, let alone my mother's lifetime, we had never seen anything like this before. And of course, for my friend and even my friend's mother, they, from abroad, were watching this because realize they don't have a voting process, or didn't for quite some time in Chile's history under a dictatorship. Everyone in the world was watching what was going on here in the U.S., and they were all lighting up with the news, and so were we. Suddenly we got into this new area of the road on the way upstate. The leaves were already starting to get a little bit more radiant, even in the late fall, crisp day. The sun just got brighter, and the air even fresher. We could breathe. Politics aside, this was just a moment when the world was watching. Our democracy was being put to the test. And ultimately, say what you want about the right or the left, blue or red, our democracy and the process of we the people worked. It held. And in that, we could relax. In that, we could rely and push on up to Caterskill Falls in upstate New York for a glorious day. Well, we got to the falls, and it was so beautiful up there and very populated that day. A lot of people out hiking, enjoying the gorgeous fall day. And you can hike right alongside the falls and reach different levels. There's one point when you can reach a precipice and look out, and there's another point where you can push in almost under the falls, and the spray back is just sublime. In fact, my colleague pushed all the way there, insisted on a selfie, but meanwhile walked back out of the selfie and was nearly soaking wet just from the beautiful mist of the waterfall. And I noticed on that hike up the trail, I was noticing the people. We were all greeting each other, saying hello, taking that moment to acknowledge. And some of the path is a little narrow, so you have to navigate it. One of you has to step to the side. So people were being very gracious and caring of each other and respectful. But what I noticed, aside from the rich diversity of people going up the hill that day, in particular, I was noticing the women. And that's maybe not unlike me, but in this case, I was noticing them from a different perspective. I was noticing some in groups with men going up, boyfriends and friends and husbands going up the hill and down the hill. I was also noticing groups of women going just probably on their own version of the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants adventure, just having a great day. But I was noticing also the cultures and the ethnicities of all these women. Two pairs of women still stay with me today. One was two beautiful young women, about half my age maybe, pushing into the mist just as we were, waiting to take their selfie just as we were. And young, slender, but somehow I was engaged in a conversation with them. No surprise, I talked to a lot of people, asked a lot of questions, and in a short conversation found out one of them was pregnant, 3 months. What joyous news, and obviously they were out celebrating together, whether they were sisters or just best of friends, like sisters in some ways. And probably celebrating the fact that, 3 months from now she might not be able to do this hike, because it is a little strenuous. I also think back on two young ladies. Two of them, they seemed to be of Indian descent, and they were up on a precipice, one comfortably mounted on the safer side, her friend pushing to the corner where you can actually see the falls, and all in time, of course, to do a selfie. Well, the one young lady pushing to the far edge was nervous at first, but ultimately, of course, like two young ladies, gave over to the moment of being photographed. And I watched just from afar and thought how beautiful that energy was, and in particular was struck by the fact that they were two young Indian women. What had changed that day for them? What had changed that day for the young lady that was pregnant and there with her friend? What had changed for even my friend and my mom? This was substantial. And this, as we were in this expanse of Mother Nature, something so far greater than any of us, and with its own natural energy and force that we innately call female, Mother Nature, nurturing everything. The one thing that I was struck with is this was a significant day for female energy. Think about it. The one thing that I think we can all agree upon, again, separate of party lines, stopping the divisionism just for a moment to celebrate. If the one thing that we celebrate and share in this country as America, we had finally been able to elect a woman to the highest office in the land, or at least the second highest office in the land, as part of a team. And so many other countries had done that before us. All throughout Europe, even Africa, have had women presidents and prime ministers. But here we were finally pushing past another barrier. And in that there was celebration and jubilation. In that I watched all the women. And in that, those were the women I was celebrating, packing this picnic and taking care of them. Lord knows my mom probably packed enough bagged lunches for me at school. This was a little give back. Here was my friend that I made the time to take care to nourish her, the way she continues not only to sometimes nourish me literally, but also intellectually, and we feed off each other as work colleagues. This was a time now that we could enter and start to give back as men and be supportive. It was even represented in Biden supporting and choosing Harris, and the way they're going to have to work together, and the way we're going to have to work together, beyond just voting for them if we did, beyond voting against them if we did, but working now together to come together, to heal and be one. In essence, it's like a picnic. If we sit down together, if we make the effort, maybe more like a potluck, where everybody brings something of their culture, and we have the wine, we break the bread, maybe in that there is the healing and the realization that we actually are more alike than we are different. And that's my one hope, and that's the deepest I will go into politics with you in this and on this show. But it's all from a perspective of offering positive resource, coming together, and healing, not just from COVID, but well beyond, and well beyond the next 4 years too. So on that note, I thank you for joining me today. I'm Jeff Oppenheim for Unprecedented Journey. Stay safe, stay well, and you know what? Stay active.